morning, everybody. How are we doing? Sam here, United People's TV. What day is it? Wednesday, the 18th of October. Only a few days away from watching United back in action away at Sheffield United. And jeez, international breaks. Jeez. In particular, these international breaks. And then you've had all the added takeover stuff on top of it. Jeez. Man, there is a drag at the start of this season for Manchester United, and it is pulling fans under. Tell you that. Anyway, I'm going to speak about the takeover. And look, right, is everybody sitting down? Right, is everyone sitting down? Shock horror. All right, it's being delayed. Delayed. The Glazers delayed. Sound is weird today, I'm being told. Let's have a little look here. What's going on? 1, 2, 3. Let me try and fix it. The studio is killing me. Is that any better? Can you give me the thumbs up? Hopefully that will be better. Honestly, this studio is driving me insane. Insane. So I hope it sounds a little bit better there. I'm just going to check down in the comments. See what you're saying. No, not saying it's any better. I want to punch something. I'm close to it. What can I do now? I'm a little bit fed up. 1 second there. How about that? Is that better? I'm hoping this might be better. Come on. Let's say that's better. Come on. There we go. I think we've got it. Oh, man. Right. Jeez. Thanks for being patient with me, everyone. My God. I'm so looking forward to getting this studio done. I swear. I've been living in a... Yeah. Anyway, everything seems to be getting on my nerves right now. It's almost like I'm a little bit tetchy as a United fan. But, whew. Anyway, at least I don't sound like I'm in the bathroom. Good morning, everyone in the comments. That's the most interesting opening to a show you're ever going to get. Well, maybe not interesting. A bit boring, really. Anyway, welcome to United People's TV. Sam here. It is Wednesday, the 18th of October. Let's pretend the last 3 minutes didn't happen. But I know, like, shock horror. Everyone sit down. Now that you can hear me properly, everyone sit down. You know, delays. The Glazers. As if. No, well, lo and behold. Telegraph reporting that there is not going to be a board meeting tomorrow, and I'm going to run through the story. And I'll tell you what, there's some really interesting points that are raised in this article from James Ducker and Tom Morgan that I want to discuss. Maybe some details about the actual structure of the takeover itself, which I definitely think could be interesting. Who's here from the member gang? Let's have a look. Dean, good morning to you. AJ, Josh, Dorian, Jonah Tech. Got Tyler, Liam. Got Everton, Santos. James Deans, good morning to you. Monkton, John. Justin Beaver. Robert Taylor, how you doing? Chaos. Josh, I'm sure you're there. Let's have a look down here. T, I saw you earlier. Stu, you're there as well. Stuart Foster. Who's here on Facebook? Let's have a look. Wayne Hogarth, good morning to you. Matt Taylor watching from Australia. Good morning to you, sir. John Moore. There's plenty of you tuning in. And look at that. Johan, man. Just to cheer. Well, where's my gong gone? Honestly, the studio better look nice at the end of it. I swear on my life. Hey, give 5. That was a terrible gong. Well, I'm going to leave it like that. I want to dive into the show. That was honestly the worst. Simon, thank you for gifting a membership there as well to someone. I'm not sure who got it. But first things first, I want to speak about this. You might say it's minor and it's insignificant, but see, look at this. It's so annoying. I didn't want to say anything about this, but my bloody mic. Because I'm having to move stuff around now. I have to bring that into the middle there. Hopefully that sounds all right. The women's team and the academy, they've now got a bit of a new facility at Carrington. The women's team, if you remember, I think it was Casey Stoney, the previous manager, who really questioned Manchester United's facilities, just said they were just under par. Man United have been working and building this for 7 months now, I believe. And it's nothing groundbreaking, but it's what the women's team has needed for a long time. You can't expect Manchester United to have an elite women's team and the facilities that we used to have. A good thing is, as well, as the academy is going to have a separate gym, a separate access to a separate gym. So that will take the academy facilities up a little bit as well. And these are the things that, well, we know what we all think about. Not what we all think about our first team's training facilities. What we know about our first team's training facilities and how much better that they need to get. Interestingly enough, that's around about, I think it was about 7 million they spent on that. I think so. Does that guarantee that they're going to stay at Carrington if they build a new training ground? I imagine they're going to redevelop it on the complex, but it's good for the women's team and it's good for the academy as well. Anthony, man, I see you there too. Gifting 5 minutes. Sorry about that intro, everyone. I'm getting really frustrated with the studio because just loads of things continue, loads of hurdles keep coming up. Wrong, and nothing has been planned. And yeah, my dad got COVID for a week as well. So it's supposed to be finished about 10 days ago and it's still not. It is what it is. All right. It's a bit like the takeover. So let's speak about the takeover now, right? The takeover. Well, 25% takeover. Let's be completely honest. It wasn't the takeover that we all sort of wanted or anticipated. Now, I want to run through this article from the Telegraph from James Ducker and Tom Morgan yesterday. So the deal was supposed to be going. The deal was supposed to be going to the board on Thursday. That was where the 12th. I did my video yesterday. If you watched it, hardly anybody did. Hardly anybody watches anything at this moment in time. It's just that sense of apathy among United fans. Oh, just sod that. I'm switching it off. Because I've done the People's Person and United People's TV for so long, I can really sense when people are frustrated and when people are happy. And there is a massive sense of apathy among United fans right now. Like they struggled to find positives anywhere. And at this moment in time, well, the takeover situation over the weekend and the reaction to all of that, and did it. And then we were told that Thursday, maybe they were just speculating about the Thursday board meeting. Hey, they've been speculating about a lot of things throughout this whole entire process. Now, they're saying that this board meeting is not going to go ahead on Thursday. I'm going to read through the article, and I want to pick out one point in particular around the structure of the deal. Calvin, man, how you doing, man? You just gifted 5 memberships. And Santa Sigmund's come back. He's gifted 1 as well. I hurt my head by the last gong, so I'm going to do it nice and gently now. I'll see what you're going to say down here in the comments. Sam, maybe the Glazers had a change of heart. I've told you a million times. They cannot afford to have a change of heart. The requirement for investment is a necessity. It is a requirement. It's not their... The Glazers would never have gone for strategic investment alternatives if they didn't have to. They already tried to find I don't know whether it was Elliott or Carlisle or one of those. They tried to find one of those to simply buy out their siblings, and they said no. So they had to go down here. Anyway, let me read through this. Discussions ongoing, of course, around about the deal. Jim Ratcliffe's 25% purchase of United is not expected to be decided by the club's board on Thursday, as final details are still being thrashed out. Sources close to talks maintain a deal is still within sight over the next fortnight. Now, of course, it repeats down here, and this is the point that I keep saying, right? There is said to be some discussion still to settle over Ratcliffe's likely investment, which would grant him immediate control of football operations. Because I said, like, does this whole deal situation, are we really talking about immediate, like tomorrow, immediate? Or are we going to have to wait until Ratcliffe's on the board, which could take anything up to 8 weeks? Everything keeps saying immediately, certainly in the Telegraph. But anyway, they're not saying immediately on Thursday because it's not going to go ahead on Thursday. And there's one point in this article that I want to focus on down here. Actually, no, there's 2 points here. We'll focus on this one here. A well-placed insider, aware of discussion on both sides, has told the Telegraph that there'll be no decision this week. Some key figures inside the deal also remain skeptical that Sheikh Jassim has entirely withdrawn his interest in the club. Sources close to the Qataris, however, have reaffirmed their insistence that he told the Glazers last week he quit the process. I said this yesterday. I'll say it again today. Like, oh, why we're still talking about him? It's done. If he wasn't going to come in with the offer that the Glazers wanted by this stage, then why is that going to change? Why is it all of a sudden at the, it's not the 11th hour, it's gone past the 11th hour. Why would he come back with an even bigger bid? If he was going to, it would have been done. Would have been done probably a long time ago. Jonathan, I know the Premier League's got to do fit and proper owners test. This is exactly my point. If they've got to do the fit and proper owners test, that means that the Glazers would have to give control to Ratcliffe without Ratcliffe being on the board, which would surprise me. And therefore, I have questions about the immediateness of it all. And you're saying if the board rejects SJR's offer, perhaps the Glazers may reassess their demands. I mean, if that board rejects the offer, geez, then the infighting among the Glazers is even worse than we thought it was, because there's 12 members of that board. You need a 7 majority for something to be. You don't. It's not like you don't have to get like a 12-0. You don't have to get a unanimous vote. It's a majority. So there's 7. There's 6 Glazers. Depends how split they are. You got Richard Arnold, who you would imagine. I've seen reports that Richard Arnold's going to vote against the Jim Ratcliffe takeover bid because his job would be at threat. I'm pretty sure he'll do exactly what the Glazers tell him to do. Cliff Beattie, who's the legal counsel, I think, was he the financial officer? And then you got Patrick Stewart. He's the legal counsel, I think. I think Cliff Beattie is a financial. So that's 3 employees of United, 6 Glazers, and then 3 independent directors who are there to represent the interests of those who own New York Stock Exchange shares, the other minority holders. So that's the structure of the board. I'd be surprised if it didn't go through. I really, really would. But this down here is what I want to focus on, because I think you'll know. Well, maybe you don't. I'll say it again. One of the biggest gripes I had over the weekend about this concept of a 25% takeover for Ratcliffe. The thing that annoyed me the most was the idea that, look, if Ratcliffe comes in and buys 25% of the club, then Man United will still need investment, because that 25% is not going to go into the club. It's going to go into the Glazers' pockets. And that's why I found this part interesting here. As part of the likely deal, not all of the money offered by Ineos is certain to go to shareholders. And there is also an expectation that the Glazers' voting rights will be diluted under the terms of any agreement. Now, you might find this bit a little bit boring, but this is pretty crucial when it comes to the concept of full takeover and how much power Jim Ratcliffe will actually have if he buys 25% of Manchester United. I might do a full video on this, but you might just get bored. Don't know. I haven't decided yet. This is the latest set of annual accounts for Manchester United. We're still waiting on this year's. It should be out. I think the latest it was out before was the 21st of October. I think that was a couple of years ago because of COVID. The accounts are really late already. This is the share structure of Manchester United. Now, Ed Woodward's not on there anymore. He's been removed, and Patrick Stewart has been put in there. I've just detailed you to the 12 members there. But this is where you can see who has the voting power at Manchester United, all right? Joel Glazer up there with 19%. Darcy, actually, is above Avram because Avram has sold so many of his shares. So is Brian. Avram's down there with 14%. This is the thing, right? So, if 2 things, because there's different ways that this could be structured, right? Let's go to this. What Jim Ratcliffe tried to do first time was buy all of the Glazers shares. The initial offer from Ineos was for all of the Glazers shares, 69%. We know what happened. The minority shareholders on the New York Stock Exchange threatened legal action, saying that by doing that, it's going to ruin the value of our shares. So Ineos backed away from it. now we're at this point here. We don't know what the structure is going to be for how Jim Ratcliffe is going to buy his 25%. And this is we're in speculation territory here. All right. But this is quite, in my opinion, is quite an important part of it. We go over here. This is an article from the Wall Street Journal. All right. And it was published yesterday. And here they're saying this. The proposed terms on this paragraph here, right? The proposed terms widely reported call for Ratcliffe to acquire 25% or more of United's non-voting shares, the Class A shares, which are listed on the New York Stock Exchange, and the equivalent amount of voting shares from the Glazers. So that would be, I mean, that's probably the most straightforward and simplest. It would be completely equal. In fact, I actually did, let me pull this up here. I did a tweet on this yesterday. Because this is where it gets complicated, unfortunately. It's because the Glazers have made such a convoluted voting structure inside Manchester United, these Class A shares and the Class B shares, to give them all the power, right? So it could, in theory, be this. Let's go down here. Jim Ratcliffe will purchase 25% United. Presumably, that could be an equal split amongst each of the 6 Glazers and also everybody on the New York Stock Exchange. So that's 3.757 from each. Now, what this would do would actually give Jim Ratcliffe the single biggest share of the voting rights at Manchester United. We go over here, we can see that Joel Glazer currently, as an individual, has 19% of the voting power at Manchester United. And if Jim Ratcliffe was to buy shares equally among all 6 of the Glazers, he would actually have, therefore, 21.4% of the voting power at Manchester United. And he could actually be the single biggest voter in the club. Of course, it's very easy to get around that because the Glazers just join up. And therefore, they can do what they want. That's one way of doing it. But this is the other way that I hadn't, I suppose, considered, and I hadn't really thought about too much until I read this in the Telegraph. Okay? As part of the deal, not all of the money offered is certain to go to shareholders. First of all, it's an interesting point. And there is also an expectation that the Glazers' voting rights will be diluted. Now, a way that could happen is this. The Glazers could, in theory, create more shares. Okay? By creating more shares, they could then sell 25% to Jim Ratcliffe without actually selling any of their own shares. Now, what that would do would, as is written there, it would dilute their voting rights. But that could mean, and this is the thing, this is why I would say it's significant. If that was the structure and the Glazers ended up creating more shares, then those shares are the ones that get sold to Jim Ratcliffe. Then it means that maybe that money from Ineos, as is written there in the Telegraph, it might not all go to the shareholders. There could be a chance that the shares get created, Jim Ratcliffe buys them, and it might be the terms of Ineos that money then goes into the club. Because that was my big fear about Jim Ratcliffe and this 25% conversation. He could buy 25% of the club, but that doesn't give us any money to invest. Maybe there could be a share structure change, more shares added in. That's what Jim Ratcliffe buys, and therefore that money doesn't go to the Glazers. That money actually goes into the club. I suppose this is exactly why these final details are being ironed out. I'm going to see what you're saying down here. Nothing makes sense, says Royal. I promise I'm trying to make as much sense of this as I possibly can. To summarize it in 2 sentences, I hated the idea of Ratcliffe buying 25% of the club because I thought it was just going to be 1.3 billion going to the Glazers. They put it in their back pocket, say thank you very much, and we'd still need investment. Therefore, we'd still need to sell off more of the club to other minority investors. But then who's to say that money would ever get invested in the club? A way around that could be for share dilution. The only thing the Glazers would lose at that point is individual voting power, but as a collective, they would still have the majority. It might just be that Glazers are basically giving up some voting power, and that money is going to get invested. I'm going to try and read a few of your comments out down here. I appreciate this is complicated. I know it's complicated, but I'm just trying to I'm trying to get my head around it just as you're trying to get your head around it. I'm trying to do it together. It's not the easiest thing. And you're saying, is there anything to stop the other 4 siblings then selling more of their personal shares to Jim Ratcliffe? So this is the thing. And as far as I know, now this is obviously going to have to change this rule, but I'm pretty sure that when it comes to Class A, geez, this is what I mean. Like these rats have created such a convoluted dual share structure with power and non-voting power, so they can sell off more of the club without losing any power. And they've done it, and they've made hundreds of millions off it. Under those rules, any Class B shares, the ones with voting rights that got sold, you had to sell them on the open market, and they had to be therefore converted to Class A before you could sell them. You weren't allowed to sell Class B shares to anyone else apart from the Glazers. So they just created a monopoly around it. Now those rules are going to have to change because Jim Ratcliffe's coming in. So these rule changes are probably going to have to be announced to the New York Stock Exchange. Because under the previous ones, I don't think they were even allowed to sell to Ratcliffe. Oh, man. Man, the amount of things that we as United fans have tried to get our head around with this takeover, with the Glazers, with the sort of, even the geopolitical conversations that we're having around the Qatar and around any involvement over in Saudi and all of that. And then all this, I'm trying to get my head around finances. I did an accounting module in the first year of uni. I'll be honest, I didn't go to a lecture, but I did manage to pass the exam by reading the book for 3 days. Anybody, I don't encourage you to do that. Actually do university properly. See, Billington, my head hurts to taking all that in. Hey, dude, man, I know. My head hurts as well. Ryan, I never knew it was that complicated. I'm sorry. Sam saying we run like the Kremlin. Like when you really try to deep dive into it and you really try to get your head around it, you just realize I don't know how to describe it. Right? I don't know how to describe it. It's just so complicated. But there isn't going to be a meeting on Thursday, according to the Telegraph. So that means no board meeting tomorrow, no Ratcliffe deal being finalised and agreed. But at that point, there is the point I want to, maybe that money from Ineos, at least some of it in part, is going to go to the club directly. Because I thought that 100% of it was going to be leaving the club and going into the Glazers' pockets. Maybe that's not the case. All right? Maybe that's not the case. Let me see what you say in the comments. At least the microphone's working now. Although it's over here. It's really annoying because I've had to move the camera. I think I'm hoping by Friday we might be able to get the new studio. Might be able to show you it. That's what I'm hoping for. Why is anybody honestly, why is anybody talking about Jassim in the comments? Like, it's done. I do not care what rumors and reports are saying about, he's going to go. The dude has just sold himself as like a boyhood United fan. Then he's going to go and hop along and buy Liverpool. Hey, look, probably could. Not saying it's possible, but I don't care. All right. Yeah, it's just the Glazers delaying things is about the least surprising thing you'll ever bloody read in the entire world. I apologize, Richard. I've got a headache down there. Sorry if I just gave you a headache there. I tried to make it as simple as possible, but it's basically impossible. I know that. Now there's a story I want to speak about here. We know full well that everything around this Ratcliffe 25% takeover is all geared towards immediate footballing control. Right? That means being in charge, not directly being in charge, but obviously having the team in charge that takes everything football related away from the Glazers and they have no power over it anymore. And transfers and recruitment, of course, is a big, big part of that. And I don't think that, is there any club the size of Manchester United that has been less efficient than United have been in these last 10 years? Like, we've wasted so much money, it's painful. And as much as I hate the Glazers, I know full well that the reason that our infrastructure is as bad as it is a direct consequence of the Glazers. So they're completely linked. But if we had just had the right people in power over these last 10 years, and Ed Woodward had no say over the club, Paul Mitchell came in 4 years ago, someone like Ralph Rangnick had existed at this club for the last 5 or so years, man, our club would be in such a different position, I am telling you. And that's why I thought that this article, I know it's from Jamie Jackson, but I think this is spot on. I'm going to read through what it says, and I appreciate it's only from Jamie Jackson. It's not being said anywhere else, all right? This is what he's saying about the Casemiro signing. Jim Ratcliffe questioned United's recent transfer policy during his visit to the club, with the prospective new minority owner citing the previous summer's acquisition of Casemiro as an example of what he views as questionable investment. Ratcliffe believes United run a productive commercial operation, but that investment in the squad could be markedly improved. And he's completely and utterly right. Just this conversation is completely and utterly right. Casemiro was Manchester United's late reaction to a failed Frankie de Jong plan, and we enjoyed it for quite a bit last season. But only in only Casemiro's second season, we're looking at him and we're going, my word, that £70 million midfield signing that we made last summer, is he really fit for purpose? And there's going to be people that are just, I'm no doubt, I'm going to take a look in the comments here. And no doubt you're just going to get angry at me. But Manchester United signing 30-year-old Casemiro for £70 million is the definition of short-term planning. Is the definition of, in a couple of years' time, you're going to be looking and going, "Hoi, we need another central midfielder in that position now, don't we?" It's just not long-term connected thinking. Did it get Manchester United out of a hole? Hell yeah, it did. We finished third last season. Casemiro was fantastic. I still think that Casemiro, it felt like Ten Hag got his tactics wrong with Casemiro, left him way too isolated. And Casemiro, positionally, he needs to show a lot more discipline than he's doing. Finding himself lunging too often, out of position too often, and losing duels as well. But that's all form related. That will improve. The signing of Casemiro has to be the last signing like Casemiro that this club does for a long time. And the fact that I'm going to be speaking about this lad next is really a testament to that change in policy that has to happen. That's probably why, so many of us, I looked at Harry Kane as, I was desperate for United to sign Harry Kane. I thought genuinely he could help take this team just to another level, right? And we signed Hojlund instead because Harry Kane would have cost us like an insane amount of money. Hojlund was a lot, way too much for who he was. But for 70 million, we're looking at him now, we're going, yes. And the amount of energy that Hojlund's on his own has brought into this team, and I'm not just talking about physical energy on the pitch, I just mean there's a different type of energy that comes with a younger signing. And yeah, I think this, I feel like I might do a video on this today. You can probably count on like one hand how many signings Manchester United have made of players over the age of 30 that have been a success at the club. No, you really can count on one hand. Was Van Persie 29? I think Van Persie was 29. Ibrahimovic was over 30. Fire it in the comments. I'll be interested. I'm sure there are. I'm not saying that there's none. But I'm saying in general, Manchester United have just not had a very good history of signing really established players, and certainly older ones. A little bit of both. Henry Larsson. Jeez, we're going back. The general, Van Persie had one good season. Dude, Van Persie had an incredible season. Then Fergie retired. Man, that would have been sad. But yeah, I think this comment down here, Sheringham over 30. We got him. Damn. And what signing he was. Ratcliffe wouldn't be wrong in thinking this. It's that if Manchester United had done all the requisite work needed for that particular position, we would have easily had 2 pretty good Frankie de Jong alternatives. But we didn't, because we had our eggs in the de Jong basket. We were so convinced we were going to get him. And at the end of it, we were like, sod it. And remember that Man United, at that point, we had no budget. And then the Glazers all of a sudden found 150 mil on the credit card and go, there you go. Go and get Anthony and go and get Casemiro. I love Casemiro, man. I love what he did last season. I think he's one of my favorite midfielders in this last 10, 15 years. I always appreciate a proper enforcer, midfield enforcer. That's why I've always wanted one for so long. But signing Casemiro last season is absolutely evidence of a Manchester United transfer recruitment policy which should be questioned and needs to be questioned. Because for us to spend 70 million on a central midfielder who's 30 plus, and then a year later be going, we might need another one in that position. That's definitely cause for concern. And even more so when you see that what you can do if you do research properly, you profile properly. Now, look, last night, did you see that goal from Hojlund? I know, yes, it was against San Marino. But he had absolutely no right to score from where he did. It was a proper instinctive striker's finish. He made the run, ball over the top, down the left-hand side, one quick glance at the goalkeeper, and just put his foot through it. A proper thunder bastard. That's what I call it. Roof, you know those ones that hit the roof of the net first. The only thing that's better than a roof of the net first is a crossbar, hit the ground, and then hit the net. Al Mac didn't Sam love the Casemiro signing a few months ago? Dude, Casemiro is an incredible player. However, it was short-termism at its finest. Both of those things can be true in existence at the exact same time. And they are. Casemiro was incredible last season. And he was also a short-term thinking solution who cost us 70 million. Anyway, that goal there from Hojlund, fantastic. And it got overshadowed a bit by some properly, I don't know whether I'm going to get slapped down for copyright for this. Maybe I will. But Hojlund there, you can see, look at that. You can see the San Marino player not even attempting to get the ball here. Look at him, just straight knee up, straight into the back. All right. Going absolutely, nobody goes into a tackle like that, directly behind somebody, trying to win the ball. Right. That is just straight trying to injure someone. Hojlund went off with a back injury, and he said this after the game. And he was completely spot on. I feel like they targeted me, as you can see at the end. I understand Italian, and I could hear them saying that they had the idea to crush me. You can see from the images that they only had one thing in mind. I don't know how my back is. You know how it is with adrenaline. Right now, I feel good, but I don't know how I will feel. People know that I've had back problems in the past. So it's a frustrating situation. So that's all we got to do here is, let's just say fingers crossed that it's not going to flare up anything. But that is some filthy tactics, man. That is some filthy tactics. They know that he's got a back problem, and I think they were targeting his knees and his back. That is some Sunday league. I suppose it is San Marino. It kind of is Sunday league. So not kind of is. It is Sunday league. But yeah, man, the goal that he scored was such a wonderfully instinctive finish. There's a comment there that caught my eye, and I'm going to have to go back up to this one. Blaming Casemiro for Ten Hag's poor tactics and misprofiling is mind-blowing. Yes, Ross. I absolutely believe that Erik Ten Hag went and said, "No, Casemiro is who I want." Whoop. Erik Ten Hag spent the whole summer chasing Frenkie de Jong. Manchester United didn't have any alternatives at that point. We panicked. What? Real Madrid got Tchouaméni. Yeah, go on, let's go and get Casemiro. It's exactly what happened. Exactly what happened. Jara, you're saying Casemiro got an ankle injury. He did get an ankle injury, but then he played 90 minutes yesterday for Brazil. I believe they lost 2-0 to Uruguay. Pellistri started, played 87 minutes. But yeah, Casemiro looked to be okay. I think he went off after the first game with a bit of an injury, but he played the full 90 yesterday. Now we're seeing separate reports today for I don't know whether this is true or not. Seeing separate murmurs, whispers coming out that Amrabat is injured and won't be playing for Morocco. I'm not going to lose my mind here. I'm just going to wait to find out more information. But it wouldn't exactly surprise me, would it? It wouldn't exactly surprise you either. I hope it's not true. Casemiro had I think he had a swollen ankle after the first game for Brazil, but he played 90 minutes yesterday. Right. Tell you had a good day yesterday. Oh, man, it was good to see Rashford scoring the sort of goal that Rashford scored constantly last season. Jude Bellingham, I'll speak about Jude Bellingham in a bit. But Rashford received the ball 30, 35 yards out, ran at the Italian defence, cut inside 2 of them, and just stuck his foot through it. Really nice goal from Marcus Rashford. I'll tell you what, he needed that. We need Marcus Rashford to find last season's form again. Because Rashford's in such a dip of form. It's been really sort of overwhelming him, I think. 8 goals in his last 9 starts for England, Anthony. Correct. He has been banging them in. One really important thing that I want to point out, and I've been saying this about Rashford, right? I'm sure you saw the goal itself in the build-up. Great play from Jude Bellingham. Ball went over the top. Just, you're watching. Bellingham is so exciting to watch. Just makes me sad every time I see him. Because, he wouldn't be doing that in a United shirt anyway because, we would have dragged it out of him. Sucked it out of him. But the reason I'm speaking about Bellingham is because of the importance of the run that Bellingham made. Now, I've been saying this all season, right? Manchester United have had Luke Shaw out for, 6-7 weeks now? Malacia hasn't kicked the ball for us this season. Reguilon's come in, then got injured. Then Diogo Dalot sometimes played there. Then Amrabat's played there. So there's 5 different left backs that we've played there. And the only one, Reguilon did it a little bit as well. But Shaw and Reguilon are kind of the only 2 left backs in that, out of those I've just said there, who are going to overlap Rashford at any point. Now, a lot of the time, Man United are operating with inverted fullbacks. The fullbacks cut inside and become an extra central midfielder rather than the overlapping fullback that goes on the outside. That tactical switch has been hurting Marcus Rashford. And Italy were doing it again last night. They can just double up on him. If you don't have an overlapping fullback on the left, it's so easy to double up on Marcus Rashford. That I could pull out 10, 15, 20 different occasions. Maybe not having haven't played that many games. But it really hurts Rashford. So when Bellingham made that run and the defence couldn't just focus on Rashford, he made space that Rashford ran into and punished. I really want to see that at Manchester United. In certain points. So obviously Erik Ten Hag's got his system where he's going to be having inverted fullbacks, but when one fullback goes up, the other fullback tucks in. At this moment in time, it's only ever really been, it's not been enough on that left-hand side. Malacia overlaps more than Shaw. Malacia also hasn't kicked the ball this season, so fantastic news. But But yeah, Jude Bellingham, man. How good is Jude Bellingham? Man, you're probably looking at a Ballon d'Or winner there. I think. I don't think that's me being over exaggerating. I think you're just looking at a future Ballon d'Or winner there. What other players are? So I suppose you've got Haaland in that sort of Bellingham generation who are going to grow up now for the next 10 years. Haaland will be in there. Gavi. Who else? Curious to know. I'm sure there's plenty more that I'm not naming here. And you're saying, is it partially because Rashford is bad at tracking back, so fullbacks don't want to leave themselves exposed? I suppose that plays a part of it, yeah, for sure. But then you've seen, I think it was Rashford away at Arsenal, where he really, really did travel back. He really did track back, so he can do it. Mbappe, of course. Forgot about Mbappe. Musiala, that's a really, really good one. That's a really good name. Vinicius Jr. Oh man, yeah. I'm really happy for Bellingham that he's been a very smart kid this whole way through, and he's not a kid anymore at 20. He's a properly mature man. Years already at Dortmund, and now go to Madrid and do what he's doing at Madrid. Incredible. And he's doing it for England as well. He's becoming the leading figure for his club and country, and he's at the biggest club in the world in Real Madrid. And there is so much expectation and pressure at England to win, and we never do. Imagine we change that with Bellingham. Jeez. But look, the headline of the show was this today. We're seeing the fact that Ratcliffe's deal is going to be delayed. And I spoke through the differences in the structure of the deal, which could be very important in terms of the takeover overall. Because 25%, it has to be the step towards 100%. It can't just be the only step. And if the Glazers decide to create more shares and Ineos buy those, and that dilutes their voting power massively, it could be a big step in the right direction. There is a possibility that Jim Ratcliffe will become the single most powerful voter inside Manchester United's board. Of course, as I've explained here, that's easily usurped if the Glazers just team together. But these Glazers, they can't even agree. They can't agree on anything. So it may be that the civil war status of the Glazer family ends up becoming an advantage to us in the idea of Ratcliffe going from 25% further up. Don't know. That's speculation. All right. But yeah, apparently there's not going to be a board meeting tomorrow. I feel like I want to do my video at lunchtime today on this, because I think it's completely correct. And like, even if Ratcliffe didn't cite that as a reason, it is completely correct. As much as I love Casemiro, it's the definition of a short-term signing that you can't really build a football team around. You can for like a year or two, max, but the longevity of it is minimal. Let me see what you're saying down here in the comments. Is Amrabat injured? We don't know at this particular moment in time. Right, we'll leave it for that. Right. I'm going to wrap that one up for today. I apologize about the start. I'm getting a little bit frustrated with the old studio. We're nearly there, but I just want to get it done. I want to get it out. I want to get it started. Look, thank you all for tuning in. I'll be here tomorrow, as I always will be, at 10 a.m. I'll be here a little bit later today with my lunchtime video. Much love. Speak to you soon.